Hello, my name is Caden Clark, and today I'm presenting my strategic analysis of Seaboard Corporation. Seaboard is a multinational conglomerate with key businesses in pork production, marine transport, and commodity trading, as well as milling and energy production. Today I'm going to highlight their industry position, their strategy innovation, as well as recommendations for the next 5 to 10 years for future growth. Seaboard was founded in 1918, and they have now been active in 45 countries as reported of last year. They operate across several major industries, like I said, pork, marine, commodity trading, power as energy, and then milling, which involves things like sugar as well as other different farming products. There's been innovation mainly seen in sustainable pork practices so that you could look forward to a more sustainable and healthy option for people that are interested in that in the future. There's also been a huge investment in biodiesel and renewable energy initiatives, leading us into the next decade of what we believe at Seaboard could be very powerful for our company and lead us into high profits. As far as Seaboard's industry and strategic environment, I was able to do a couple analysis. I did Porter's Five Forces or PATAL, and a couple things that I wanted to go over today were the challenges such as things like price validity and global supply chain risk, as well as regulatory pressures from things like emission checks, as well as tariffs and other things like that. High rivalry in markets like pork and other things are a huge thing that Seaboard wants to focus on. There is much competition in this different fields, and Seaboard has to deal with this especially because they have their hands dipped into so many different pots. Now, like I said, Seaboard is in 5 or 6 major different fields, but that being said, they are top players in each of these fields. Now, there's pros and there's cons to this. The pros happen to be things like the fact that they have risk prevention if one business were to go under. Other businesses would able to be pull the power and the load of the business that's not doing as well due to the fact of success in many different fields. Now, the cons to this are the high concentration each one of these fields has to have with the other one, due to the fact that if they aren't working in sync and together, they could go under very quickly due to the high confusion and the difficult nature that it is being such a big company and running so many different industries and being very different industries in that as well. When people think of pork, they don't think of industry and marine shipping. So there's many different things that go into play, and they have to be working in sync in order for them to have success and in order to beat the competition that continues to grow every single year. As far as analysis, I did a PATAL analysis and I did a SWOT analysis. Now, for the SWOT analysis, I believe it was very successful due to how easy it is to make a good SWOT analysis, as well as how powerful it is for a company that needs to grow and learn what they're not good at. The SWOT analysis for Seaboard contains things like global diversification, as well as vertical integration, things like farm to pork or things like farm to table with things like sugar and other things that they mill. There's a lot of crossover from the supplier to the business, and that's why Seaboard is such a big company, because they have the supply chain and the process of getting to your consumer down very good. As far as weaknesses, and this is a big one because this is my project and I've never heard of Seaboard before. They have very low public visibility and limited investor transparency, meaning that if someone like me who is in investing and pretty alert with what's going on in our country has no real idea of what Seaboard does and had to look it up at first, that is maybe a small issue for a company like this. Now, I'm not buying pork in volume. That being said, it is something that could be worked on. As far as threats, we have to think about things like climate impacts on agriculture and what we're going to be moving forward toward in the future, as well as lack of social media and analytical influence on the business due to the fact that they've never had to do that in the past. Now, opportunities, we want to look at things like the rising global demand for protein. You see people with carnivore diets. You see people realizing that protein is key in a healthy, sustainable diet. And as an opportunity for Seaboard, if we could get more emphasis on healthy, sustainable animals that we're feeding to our customers, we could continue to put ourselves in a positive light on whether or not people want to eat our products due to the fact of how healthy and how good they are for them. Our current strategy and performance is based on cost leadership and vertical integration, like I said, being able to integrate every step of the business along the way and build upon that. Now, with recent investments to the pork division, we want to enhance capacity. When I say enhance capacity, I want good, clean operations. I want financial performance to continue to grow like it has since COVID. And then I also think that allowing our farmers and our higher level executives and everyday workers to work together could only enhance our business and continue to grow our business. Now, when it comes to strategic recommendations, we can go a lot of different directions, and it's kind of broad due to the fact that we have so many different pots that we're in and so many different businesses. Whereas you have companies that sell shoes or companies that sell airplanes. We sell everything in a lot of different fields, so it's very hard to focus on. It's very hard to make a specific recommendation without thinking about all different forms of business that we are in, and also making good suggestions and not wasting money and time when there's so many different resources that need to be handled. We need to do things like adopting digital agritech, so new crop forecasts to see what farming is going to do better, what milling production is going to increase our production, African and Latin American growth markets for food supply due to the fact that there's increase in demand in these growing countries. Now, along with these recommendations, they are all aligned with Seaboard's scale, structure, and long-term goals, meaning that after analyzing what they're currently doing, I want to build upon that. I think expanding renewable energy investments is another thing that we need to focus on. Energy is going to be a ginormous thing, and if we can get on the forefront of that, we could really have a great company and continue to grow from where we're already at. Now, as far as integrating what we've learned this semester into what my recommendations are for the company, using Porter's 5 forces is great. The SWOT analysis is awesome. The generic strategy model, which is cost leadership, is great. Now, I think strategic fit is one of the big things that Seaboard does well. From the top to the bottom, they are all in line with the same mission and the same motive to deliver a quality product for our customer. Now, they are ideal textbook case of a low-cost, vertically integrated multinational company that does many different things. Multinational, they're in 45 current countries and also growing, trying to integrate into different countries, but also vertically integrated into these countries. It's not like everything's coming from America. We are a company that has vertically integrated ourselves across Europe and as well as South America. This is something that has allowed Seaboard to grow, be strong and diverse, but also stay under the radar and continue to grow, which is very hard to do. A key challenge for Seaboard in the next 5 to 10 years will be balancing commodity exposure with things that burn out quickly and aren't big sellers, as well as apply strategic innovation with things like data analytics as well as AI implementation into the company to continue to allow us to move on the forefront of the 21st century. Now, that being said, smarter tech and innovation in a business that is doing things that have always been done a certain way is going to be very hard. This is going to mean that everybody has to be on the same page like a successful football team. There's 11 positions on a football team, and everybody has to work together to achieve a common goal. Now, if we can diversify our markets, if we could lean more towards sustainable, healthy options that make people want to see us in a better light, but also continue to apply the same key themes that have kept us as a great company, I believe that Seaboard could catapult themselves into a different stratosphere compared to their rivals and their other corporate level giants that are in the same markets that they are. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation today about Seaboard. I believe there's many different things to go into about the company, but they do a lot of great things. And I believe if they can innovate and continue to grow like they have for the last 60 years since the 40s, then we can continue to see great things from the company, and we will have an awesome next 5 to 10 years if we implement some of these small adjustments to what the current business model is. Thank you so much. My name is Caden Clark, and I hope you have a great day.